What is FFW? FFW is an NGO that its main objective is to promote gender equality for women of all ages in the country. It focuses on creating consciousness on adults and kids that both men and women have the same value, and because of that, we should be paid the same if we do the same job, and we should always be respected equally.
In order to achieve women empowerment, we think education is the best way to teach women how to make their own decisions in their personal and professional life. According to the UNESCO, 16 million girls around the world have never been in a classroom. In developing places like a lot of African countries, women are denied from education since primary school. And we all know the African poverty situation.
¿Qué conoces acerca de la equidad de género?
Como en general, ¿qué es o cómo?
En general.
Ah, pues, o sea, teóricamente es el hecho que hombre y mujer, o sea, tienen los mismos derechos, oportunidades, obligaciones y todo igual.
Ajá. ¿Y conoces a alguien o has visto que alguien haya sufrido de discriminación debido a su género?
Este, pues, puede ser que no. O, por ejemplo, yo estoy en ingeniería civil, entonces muy, o sea, a veces es como que, ay, no, pues, se dice que no, es que te va a pasar porque eres niño. O, ay, es que, por ser, o sea, como que ahorita siento que es menos, o hay menos de que aquí, de que en el campus. Pero como una vez me tocó ir de acá a la uni y íbamos a entrar una amiga y yo, y nos chiflan, es como, güey.
Ah, ya, ajá.
Entonces, y si dos personas desconocidas, o sea, hacen eso, no me quiero imaginar de que estar conviviendo con ellos todo el día, ¿sabes?
Ajá.
Entonces, y por ejemplo, también de que, o sea, quiero aplicar para un internship y me dijo un profe de que, o sea, a veces de que es más fácil que acepten hombres, perdón, a niñas que a niños porque, o sea, hay muchos más poquitas niñas. Entonces, o sea, posiblemente eso me beneficia, pero
Sigue
sí.
siendo una preferencia.
Ah,
¿no?
pero sigue
Ajá.
siendo una preferencia, ¿sabes?
Do you think that there is gender equality in the world right now?
Yes, I think there's gender equality, not in general, but there are countries that are really, really far regarding enhancement in that, and that's like you said, societal property. But I would say there are still a lot of issues regarding that topic because we cannot find gender equality and like yes on the same level in every country throughout the world.
There are like like developing countries, no?
Yes.
That have like
Mhm.
lower rates of gender equality. And what will be according to what you think, what will be a good solution to this problem?
Well, what would be a good solution to this problem? Well, reinforce women for most of the part in their own abilities, but so that they can emancipate themselves. You don't have to educate the women. I mean, we're talking about basically about women here because the men were always suppressing them,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But you have to build the framework that women can enable themselves, like emancipate themselves. You cannot teach them or say, well, you're not supposed to do this or you're supposed to do this, but they should be encouraged to take the opportunity themselves.
We understand the suffering these women are going through. It's not fair to them to be treated as if they were nothing. All human rights should be respected equally, but all around the world. Women are and have been suffering from abuse in many different ways. Every one of 3 women will experience gender based violence in their lifetime. Women also suffer in a lot of developing countries from lack of proper healthcare, and every year more than 287,000 women die from pregnancy and complications during the childbirth. In countries like Uganda, according to the United Nations, women are 53% of the labor force, but they just receive 11% of the income. And around Africa, most of the time women are not discriminated when they look for a job, but their salaries are very low in comparison to men.
This subject is directly connected with the human rights, therefore women's rights, and it is important to talk about them since they are the basis for the world to improve equality among one another. The human rights are the freedom and rights that belong to every person around the world just by the fact that they were born and that they are humans, since birth until death. They've been enshrined by the United Nations approximately 70 years ago. According to the Global Fund for Women, the rights that relate with gender equality are the right to live free from violence, slavery, and free from discrimination, to be educated, to vote, to earn an equal wage, and to own a property. They say women's rights are human rights, establishing that all women must be respected the same. Most of the sources we analyzed mentioned that this inequality was a problem we needed to solve, and the best way was to empower women and teaching everyone through education that we all have the same value and we deserve the same. We totally agree with this point of view because we believe that both genders deserve to be treated equally by everybody.
Globally, women have fewer opportunities for economic participation than men, less access to basic and higher education, greater health and safety risks, and less political representation. According to peacecorps.gov, approximately on the year 2005 and 2016, 90% women of 87 countries between 15 and 49 years old said that they had suffered sexual harassment and other things that implicate a lack of gender equality for women. Approximately 2,218 years ago, Manu laws, which were an hybrid moral religious law code, and one of the first written law codes of the world, were published on nowadays India. In these laws, Manu, which was an Indian god, established that the women as individuals value less than men. That's why in Indian culture women work longer hours and eat less portions of food than men, and also discontinue when they are pregnant. Meaning India in the present lack horribly of gender equality. Then, according to womenhistory.org, the women's suffrage amendment was first introduced on January 10, 1878. It was submitted numerous times until it was finally approved by both the House and Senate of the USA in June 1990. 50 years later, on August 26, 1970, Betty Friedan and the National Organization for Women organized a nationwide women's strike for equality. The rest is history. Nowadays, women and gender equality is practiced in many parts of the world. Although there is a need to eradicate completely this problem every day, there is a victory that let us achieve the goal of gender equality.
During many parts of history, women have suffered of inequalities in many ways. Some examples are the lack of legal rights and the little or even no independence from their husbands since they got married, and even before from their dads and helping out in the house during their chores. Since decades, men thought women having fewer brains. Women couldn't have a job because they weren't capable enough to have one. According to womenshistory.org, the Women's Suffrage Amendment was first introduced on January 10, 1878. It was submitted numerous times until it was finally approved by both the House and the Senate of the United States in June of 1919. 50 years later, on August 26, 1970, Betty Friedan and the National Organization for Women organized a nationwide women's strike for equality. The rest is history. Nowadays, women's gender equality is practiced in many parts of the world, although there is a need to eradicate completely this problem. Every day there is a victory that let us achieve the goal of gender equality. Studies have told that developed efforts in the modern India have largely failed to help women because of the male-centered religious ideology of Patriarchy. This ideology encouraged the adoption of submissive and dependent position of Hindu women. There is a lack of political will to transcend this ideology because the status quo is beneficial to those in position of power and privilege. If a woman does the same job as a man, she should be paid the same amount of money. She just should. That's just the way the world should work. What are you telling your daughters when she grow up? You have to just understand that you're a girl. You have a vagina, so that's not as valuable. What are you telling her? This was said by Viola Davis.
Still in the 21st century, we have problems of gender inequality. There's tons thousands of laws that establishes that women and men deserve to have the same rights. Besides the legality of this, lots of women all around the world are still denied to them because of their gender. What we will do is not only to give more opportunity to girls, but to change completely how countries and society works, like changing people's heart and ways of thinking. Try to implement more policies, teach kids their value and how they all should be treated the same. We want to help women achieve leadership and teach them how to speak out their voice.